should you invite me to say any more, but I'm happy. My question is, did I say anything false? Did I say anything false, Mr. Hims, about your company giving two different excuses for not turning over the model? One in 2007, one in 2009. Did I say anything false about Simcoe County stalling this process?
The model we're talking about, right?
My main question is, did I say anything false? Pointed out.
I'm not going to. You said so much, I wouldn't be able to answer that.
Sit down.
Understood. The question is about the model, right? So three questions already. Let me get back to the one. Question one is, there is a model which has, I understand, not been released to the public. Why not release it? That's a question people want to answer? One of them. Somebody answer that one.
I'll start. Rob McCullough again. I understand where you're coming from, Mr. Rosenthal. I spent a lot of time on the stand with you on it, right?
So you spend a lot of money.
What I can say about the model is this was a piece of, and Mr. Hims could speak much more accurately about it, but and he will. The model was just one of the pieces of information used by the consultants to determine many things about the site. The model, the data inputs, the data outputs, the calibration report, which is all what's normal to have a look at to determine if the model was reasonable, is completely publicly available. All right? We did have 3 days, a tri-party meeting with the Ministry of the Environment, our consultants and experts, and the CMC's consultants and experts, to actually have the model in front of them to go even further than the other peer reviews did, so that it could be looked at. And the ultimate result was that it was found to be reasonable. I think the Ministry of the Environment did a very detailed review, and I guess the problem we're going to have, because I know what you're asking, I know you know that we can't give it to you. We don't have the model. The county does not have the model. Right? We've got everything we paid for from Jagger Hims for the model. Yes, the information that came out of it, the information that went into the technical review that was done by the MOE has all been publicly provided. And we went further than that in the tri-party meeting.
Are you willing to take it from the dump? You want to brainwash the council too?
So,
we want a second opinion.
Yes.
then let me ask
and enough time to
of these people
review it.
Moratorium.
And what I understand from the question about the model is, geez, I don't want to repeat things and get it wrong. The model itself has not been released to the public, but the results of using the model have been.
Yeah.
So the remaining question is, why not release the model? And the answer at this point, I think, is as much political as it is technical.
Why?
I don't know. Ask the politicians.
That's the question.
Let's ask Rob again. Is there something you haven't released?
Well, if there's nothing to hide, why not?
And if not,
Which side are you on, by the way?
I'm on no side.
That's right.
Is there something that hasn't been released, and can you require it and release it?
He's going.
That's the question.
I need to have a supplemental to this because you're talking to us like we don't know anything. We're
No,
quite...
I'm talking to you like I don't know anything. That's different.
Okay, so as a supplemental, we've heard Rob explain, he's explained that we've heard it, he said, our consultants and experts. Now, during our tri-party meetings, I attended one day with Dr. Kerry Rowe. So, Dr. Kerry Rowe is the consultant. I was the only other person in the room. Does that mean I'm an expert? Because that's all that was there. And I want to be able to speak to things he said about how Dr. Kerry Rowe was so pleased with what we went through. Because he didn't tell the whole story. And so these people here didn't hear the whole story. I'm not saying it's a lie. I'm saying we didn't get the whole story. So the answer should be somewhat complete and fair and balanced coming from our elected Simcoe County's administration. They should be balanced. We've never had a balanced interchange. We've got, you've seen it, you're looking up there, you don't know anything about that, you said that. And everything that comes out is not balanced. And so that's why we are so frustrated with this process and why we're here. Well, I call it a dog and pony show because it is. And I'm not suggesting that you're doing anything wrong. You're in a terrible, terrible position here because you said, I don't know anything about this subject. I'm just going to make the meeting work. Well, it would have been helpful for you to understand this is a very volatile situation. We are being persecuted by the people you're standing in front of. Persecuted. Unfortunately, I think it's a bad spot you've got yourself in here. So if I would be able to
suggest that if this is supposed to be a public question and answer period, then if you've got a question,
Let us go with it.
if you've got a question, I'll try to make sure the people sitting here have that answered for you. But if we, and I don't want to cut you off. I want to be polite, okay?
You want to be polite too, or try to.
Thank you. I guess question, now the mod flow model question has been asked. My sense is that you haven't, you feel you haven't received a complete answer. Is that fair?
Very fair.
And the answer is there's a model out there you haven't seen. You want to see the thing. And that's okay.
An expert to be able to use that model and study the situation and come up with an independent assessment in case Jagger Hims made an error.
Okay, that's the next question is, at this point, I understand Jagger Hims, the engineering firm, has used this model to arrive at its conclusions. Has there been an independent study done?
No.
And what do you mean by independent? I guess it's,
What the,
me wanting to know
what the
this.
scientists?
And what were the results, and are they public? Is that a fair bunch of questions?
Independent would mean turn it over to the CMC's expert and let them do whatever investigation they feel is necessary.
Well, I guess the question I would ask is, what studies have been done? Have there been independent studies done? And I'll leave it at that. I mean, I'm trying to
We
keep these
know the answer
questions
to that,
unique.
sir. You haven't been there, but people have been here for years on this. They know the answer. The answer from them will be, there have been studies, but nobody had the model itself. They just did surface studies. That's the problem. The model has to be turned over.
Okay, if the model is turned over.
Sit down, you're not an expert, you don't know anything.
Stop insulting our intelligence.
Let's get going here.
I have a suggestion for facilitation of the meeting. Perhaps you could simply ask people to line up at the microphones and ask a question and have the people identify themselves and state who the question is for, and then the person for whom the question is for can speak to the answer.
Right.
Thank you very much. Let's do that. Let me make one more suggestion, which is if you want questions to be asked, I hope you'll give me the permission that people ask one question rather than a
I'm going to
bunch.
ask you permission.
No, it's an open meeting.
That is, if you can ask one question, that's good. And if you're making a speech instead of a question, I will ask, please tell me what the
Sit
question
down.
is so that we can get these people answered. Okay? And you've got a question, I hope.
I want to know whether this meeting was designed to allow us to ask questions to get answers from people, or whether it was to provide information from the citizens to the elected politicians before they go in to vote, or whether it was intended to corral all the protesters across the street for 2 hours while the elected officials are getting ready to discuss the issue without
Exactly.
any
Exactly.
I can answer that as the facilitator moderator. I was told we have technical experts here who are, I'm trying to answer your